In this video, we will be installing and configuring an eduVPN multi-node server with TLS and 3 nodes. Having a multi-node setup allows for more than 10,000 concurrent users. A multi-node server exists out of one controller and a minimum of 2 nodes. In this tutorial, we will be using 3 nodes. When you have a multi-node server, you can distribute the load of the VPN service over multiple servers and avoid downtime. To run a multi-node server, you need Debian 12 or higher. The servers need static IP configurations and working DNS. You need to have the following ports open: 80, 443, 41194 on TCP, and 51820 on UDP. This is the controller. It handles all the connections and is responsible for the portal. This is where you'll be spending the most time configuring things. This is node 0, one of the nodes that functions as the actual VPN server. This is node 1, one of the nodes that functions as the actual VPN server. This is node 2, one of the nodes that functions as the actual VPN server. To start, we're going to download eduVPN using curl. Then we're going to extract the contents. Continue by moving into the deploy folder and become super user. Now we can run the installer script. Input the DNS name of your controller. It will install eduVPN now. This might take a couple minutes. It will be sped up in the video. It's done installing. It will give you credentials to eduVPN. You will need these later, so make sure to store them somewhere. Now that eduVPN is installed, we can continue by obtaining a TLS certificate for our controller. The script we're going to be running is located in the deploy folder. Run the script as super user. It will now start installing. Choose L to use Let's Encrypt, which is what we will be using. Then input the host name of your controller. Enter your email address. Agree to the TOS. You can safely deny sharing your email. The controller should have a valid TLS now. We're going to generate IPv4 and IPv6 addresses for our nodes now. Running this will generate an IPv4 and IPv6 address. We need 3 of both for our node. Make sure to also store these IP addresses. We will need them later. We're going to allow our user VPN admin access to the portal. You need to be super user to access the config file. This is the configuration for our nodes in Amsterdam and Nijmegen. And here is the data configured into our file. We need to tell the controller to accept the IPv4 and IPv6 of the nodes. That should look something like this. Restart Apache 2 to apply the changes. Next, we generate keys for the nodes that will allow them to authenticate themselves to the controller. Make sure to store these. Now we start configuring our nodes. Order is irrelevant. I started with node 2. We download, extract, and then move into the deploy folder. Now we can run the installer script. Next, we can configure the main config file of node 2. This is the configuration for node 2. It should look something like this. Next, we need to tell the VPN daemon to listen for incoming connections on port 41194. Restart the VPN daemon to apply the changes. Now we place the earlier generated keys into their correct place. Next, we modify the firewall so that it allows connections from the controller. You need to input the IPv4 and IPv6 of the controller. Suffix it with /32 for IPv4 and /128 for IPv6 so that it only allows connections from the controller's IP. Restart the firewall. Apply all the changes previously made on the node. It gives no errors, so it worked and node 2 is correctly configured. Now we're going to configure node 1 and node 0. This will follow practically the exact same steps as before, so it will be sped up. Now we're going to configure the TLS. This will allow the nodes to communicate with the controller over HTTPS rather than HTTP. This provides improved security. We get our certificates from VPN-Ca. This was already installed on your controller. We generate a certificate for our controller, for the daemon, and one for each node. We will first configure the controller's certificate and then do every node one by one. We generate the certificate for our controller with a domain constraint. We generate the certificate for node 2 and give it a meaningful name. We generate the certificate for the daemon. We generate and prepare the directories for the certificates on node 2. Now we copy some of the certificates to node 2 using SCP. We copy some config information into a new file. We apply the changes. We have now configured the certificates for node 2. We're going to continue by doing the controller. Create the directory to store the certificates on the controller. We're going to move the specified certificates into the newly generated directory. Now we update the main config file from the controller so that it will use HTTPS rather than HTTP. If the certificates are not correctly configured, you will get a TLS error and it won't work at all. It's supposed to show node 2 as online with the lock icon indicating that it's using HTTPS. This is not the case, meaning that there's something wrong. I will be fixing that shortly. The permissions of some files are wrong, which I will be fixing. Now we do Node 1 and Node 2. As you can see, all the nodes are online and are using HTTPS. These are all the configuration settings used in the tutorial. I'm going to quickly show you all the tabs in the portal. I'm going to connect to each node and show the different IP addresses by using a website. For technical information, you can look at the documentation. Educative and research institutions can get support via email. Thank you for watching.